Welcome to the Anshe Sfar Beth Lameth congregation. Welcome to our webcast here, and thank you for joining us today. We know that regarding Pesach, we have so many things that are four cups, 4 questions, the 4 kashas, arba kushiot, the 4 sons, arba'a banim, the 4 sons, the smart, the wicked, the one who doesn't know how to ask, and the simple son. But there's another 4 as well, which is less obvious. And that is if we look in the Magid section of the Hagaddah, the section of the Hagaddah that is actually the telling of the story, that section for which the whole Hagaddah is named, the Magid, the telling of the story. We can identify within that Magid 4 stories. There are 4 stories of Hagaddah. But within those 4 stories, there is a mystery. There is a mystery of the missing piece, the missing link in the Hagaddah. And that's what we'd like to talk about this afternoon, the missing piece of the Hagaddah. What's missing? Well, let's look at each story and see what's missing. We turn to our first story, Avadim Hayinu, the very first answer to the son, to the 4 questions. We were slaves in Egypt, and now God took us out with a strong hand. Avadim Hayinu l'Pharaoh Mitzrayim. We were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt. Zinu Hashem Elokeinu misham biyad chazakah u'bizrah netuyah. God took us out with a strong hand and an outstretched arm. Sounds like a good answer to the question, but there's a mystery. There's something missing. If we open the Chumash and we open the Torah and we look at the story of Avadim Hayinu, they're a very similar verse, almost exactly like this. There it says something different. Yes, God took us out of Egypt with a strong hand, and then He gave many miracles, many awesome miracles in Egypt. And us, He took out of there. Why? In order to give us the land He had promised to our forefathers. We didn't just get out of Egypt. We went to the land and we were given the land that God had promised to our forefathers. A missing piece. Why doesn't the Hagaddah mention that we didn't just get out of Egypt? That wasn't the point. What was the point to be in the desert? Is that something to be thankful for? The point was that the point of the Exodus was to go to the land of Israel. We have then the missing piece of the Hagaddah. It's missing the notion of going to the land of Israel. That was story number 1. Unless you think it's not such a great idea to mention the land of Israel in the connection with our Exodus. Reb Sadia Gaon, in his ancient Hagaddah 1,000 years ago, he would mention this verse. Why don't we? The next story, the second story in the Hagaddah, you'll find another story is the story of Arami Oved Avi. My father was a wandering Aramean, or that Lavan bikesh lakor et hakol. Lavan tried to destroy it all. He tried to destroy my ancestor by claiming that we were all slaves. Slaves of his, and therefore Yaakov has no family. Yaakov is not going to be the leader of Israel. Lavan tried to destroy it all. And we tell the whole story. We say we lived there. We went down to Egypt later on. And we started with this few people, 70 people. God, they afflicted us there and had terrible work, a lot of work. We called out to God. God heard our voice, and He brought us out of Egypt with an outstretched arm, with a strong hand, and morah gadol, tremendous, awesome things, uvotot, uvmoftim, signs and wonders. It's a nice story, beautiful story. Came out of Egypt with great wonders. That's great. There's only one problem. There's another verse. There's a missing verse. There's one more verse that we don't mention. Vayivi'enu el hamakom hazeh. And He brought us to this place. Vayitin lanu et haaretz hazot. And He gave us this land. Eretz zavat chalav udvash. A land flowing with milk and honey. There it is. Devarim chapter 26. As it was in Devarim chapter 6. Each story ends with the coming to the land of Israel. And yet in our Hagaddah, in our Magid, in our telling of the story, we always leave out the coming to the land of Israel. Why? Then we have the third story. Another story found in the Hagaddah is the story of Baruch Shomer Havdachatol Yisrael. Blessed is the one who keeps his promise to the people of Israel. Baruch Hu, blessed is he. Because God promised Abraham in the covenant of the parts, in the Brit Ben Abtarim, he said to him, Yadoa Teda, you should know that you will be slaves for 400 years. I will judge that country that makes you, afflicts you. Then they will go out with great wealth. Great story. The Jews will be slaves in Egypt. They'll go out with great wealth, gold and silver, which they'll borrow from the Egyptians. There's only one problem. Once again, the Hagaddah, the Baal Hagaddah, the author of the Hagaddah, leaves out a verse that's right there in Genesis chapter 15, Bereshit, Perek Tedvav. The next verse is V'ata tavol avotecha v'shalom tikaver b'seiva tova. You, Abraham, will go to your fathers in peace. You'll be buried in peace. But V'dor Revi'i, the fourth generation, Yashuvu Hena, they'll come back here. Ki lo shalem avon Amoriyat Hena. Now is not the right time, but the fourth generation will return to Israel. They're not just going to go out with great wealth. Where are they going to go? They're going to go back here. Yashuvu Hena, they'll come back here. The third story also is missing the final verse, which speaks about coming back to the land of Israel. Finally, we have the fourth story. The fourth story speaks about Terach. We used to worship idols, as Yoshua told the people. He told the people that, I've been leading you for many years now, and now it's time. My time has come. And I want to tell you, I want to go back to history, and I want to tell you that your forefathers lived on the other side of that river, the other side of the Jordan, and Terach Avi Avraham Avi Nachor. Terach was the father of Avraham. They worshipped idols. I took your father from the other side of the river. I brought him through the land of Canaan. I gave him many children, and I gave Isaac, Jacob, and Esav and his children went to their land, to Seir, and Jacob and his sons, Yardu Mitzrayim, they went down to Egypt. A beautiful story of how we began as idol worshippers. And then there was Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov went down to Egypt. All the commentators notice that there's something missing in this Hagaddah. You're going to end the story with Jacob going down to Egypt? That's where the story ends? Don't you want to tell me about the great ending where the Jews get out of Egypt? Is this the Magi? This is the Hagaddah? This is the version in the Talmud that says that you could tell the story this way? But if you open the book of Yoshua, you open your Tanakh and you look there in chapter 24, Perek Chavdalid, the story does go on. Shlachet Moshe et Aaron. God sent Moses and Aaron, and they saved the Jews. They were many plagues. The Jews were chased. They went out. The Egyptians were drowned. And Va'avi etchem el eretz ha'amori. And then I brought you to the land of the Amorites. Vayilachamu. They fought with you too. Va'atein otam b'yetchem. I gave you in their hands. V'tirshu et artzam. And you inherited their land. The fourth time as well, the Baal HaMagid continues to disappoint. He doesn't mention the coming to the land of Israel. What kind of Hagaddah is this? Why is there a missing piece in the Hagaddah? Why do all four stories of the Magid, of the Hagaddah, why do they all leave out the coming to the land of Israel when the verses are right there, right in front of us?